Hey, what is up guys, Ching Yu here, and in this episode we'll be talking about the design process. So you might be wondering, I'm here to do engineering, I'm not a designer, so why should I learn about the design process? Well, here's the thing, almost every product you see and use would have had an engineer involved. The engineer would first understand the scenario and design and create a product to suit the needs. And yes, that includes this camera, this lens, the monitor you're watching this on, so on and so forth. So what is the design process? First, we must understand what a good design is. In everyday life, we understand engineers as problem solvers. They identify a problem and solve it. For instance, when your internet connection, yes, an engineer had to fix that. You get the idea. A good design is one that solves a problem. These problems can come from anywhere. There may be a niche in the market. For instance, a car that can drive itself for people that are lazy or incompetent. Or something as simple as an eraser that can remove stubborn marks. In any case, a good design is one that can solve at least one problem. Like surely you would agree that this set of stairs are useless, or in other words, a bad design. But how do we identify problems? Problems are all around us. Think about the journey you take daily from home to school. Think about the queues. There must be things that annoy you. If you live down in halls, it must be a pain to get up to the academic concourse when the wind's blowing and the rain's pouring. If you live in town, it must be a pain just waiting for the minibus. These are all problems, and you know they're problems because you can feel the pain, the struggle, the aggravation. You know that these are problems because you can feel it. This is what we call empathy. You empathize and you can relate to the problems. A good engineer can relate to a problem even if he can't feel it personally. For instance, a smartphone designer in the USA can produce a smartphone that's perfect for a Southeast Asian businessman. There are all the necessary features at the right cost, no more, no less. Once you have collated all your problems, an engineer would filter down which problems are worth solving, truncating down to a couple of related problems, and finally coming up with a problem statement. We all aren't Superman or Superwoman, and there's no way of solving all problems at once. This process of truncating is what we call problem definition. We're essentially helping ourselves. So by truncating the problem down to a point, we define the scope of the problem, and we also define the aspects that we want to solve. Once you know what you want to solve, you need to start thinking about how you're going to solve it. If this means doing a bit more research to understand more about the problem, that would be what you should do. But often at times, you already have an idea as to how to solve the problem. That's why the next stage is called the ideation stage. By now, you probably have multiple ideas as to how to solve the problem. That's why the next stage, we want to bring these ideas to life, either conceptually or physically. By making or conceptualizing, you're able to see the product for real. You know how it's going to look, how it's going to function, and more importantly, how it's going to work. The prototyping stage is essential in any design process, as you're finally bringing something that's virtual into reality. And finally, the testing bit. Any good design should resolve the problems it set out to solve without creating new ones. If your product is designed to be dropped, then it shouldn't break when you drop it. If the product is supposed to withstand heat, then it shouldn't melt or burn when you heat it. But in any design process, the perfect product does not exist, because if it did, we wouldn't have these teeny tiny teething problems that we have nowadays. It would also be very costly. And by the way, what's the fun in having the perfect product anyway? This is why the design process is almost never ending. It goes round and round and round. There is always room for improvement. There are always new problems. There are always new ways of doing things, new ways of solving issues, making the world a better place. But these stages that we just mentioned don't necessarily come in that order. You can always test an idea before a prototype has been made, or ideate even after a prototype has been made. These are mere classifications as a baseline, helping you out when you're designing. That will be all for this video. Check out our other videos in this design build series or learn how to make stuff in the how-to series. For now, catch you in the next one.